Welcome back to Nick Lenz, comic corner classic, not known classics. This is episode 2915, Doubleshot number 2809. So here we're discussing a brief Flash series that replaced the main title, and a volume for Just Say America. First discussing The Flash, the fastest man alive. And the title fan was like, that's not a tagline for this, that's not a subtitle, that's the actual title of the series. It was 13 issues, and we're here discussing the first 6. Now, this book is written by Daniel Bolson, art by Paul Demo, and also Ken Lash's artwork too. This is the book where Bart Allen takes up the role as the Flash for these initial 6 issues. Now, of course, basically, we have Jay Garrick make a appearance in the book. Tia McGee returns to the book as a supporting character for the first time since, Volume 2, Issue 188. Because this was the first appearance in 4 years. Because it seems as though, at first, she was a love interest for Wally, and then kind of stopped when her husband returned, and then when Barry got his own, and when Wally got his own permanent love interest, not Tia McGee, where it was Linda, who later became basically his wife, and the mother of his now current 3 children in the current continuity. Yep, and of course, at this point, Wally had decided to step away from being the Flash, so Bart Allen took over. He also been aged up. Yes. You're thinking, oh, is this some time travel shenanigans that Bendis did? No, this had nothing to do with Bendis. Had nothing to do with this at all. This was over a decade before he went to DC Comics. It's due to the Speed Force stuff that it's due to his metabolism. You see, Bart had this thing for aging quickly. And this book basically ages him up where he's no longer a little kid anymore, early teens. Here he's about 20 and he's the Flash now. And by the way, Wally is not dead. This opening story is kind of interesting. Jay Garrick is in the book per se. Now, this was technically Bart's second ever series he ever had of his own. The first being as Impulse, this one here being The Flash. His third and last known series he had was Kid Flash Lost, a miniseries for Flashpoint. These are 6 issues basically deal with something we in real life that we're kind of dealing with nowadays. Potentially replaced by robots. Excuse me. So, the opening story is oh, this guy is being disgruntled. He's disgruntled because he got fired due to, he got laid off due to replaced by robots. And so he had to kill, the owner. And then, of course, he basically failed thanks to the new character named Griffin. By the way, the guy's name is Luke Thatcher. Yes, that's his name. Luke Thatcher. Yes. And we also have a few new characters here. We also have Valerie Perez. She debuts in issue 1. Yeah, she's basically a Labus and Tia McGee. And there's also Manfred Manta. An old, basically this is an old villain, The Flash, that Mark Waid created. And for some reason, the writers brought him back. His last appearance being issue 112 of the Flash book that got put on hiatus. That was back in 1986 that his last appearance was. While he returned to issue 3, that was 10 years later. Yeah, there's also a guy called William Stuff who's a friend of Jay Garrick. And he gets saved and can pay $100, $1,000 basically for the guy who said it wasn't Flash, somebody else. And sadly put, she's also a daughter of this old Flash villain. So Bart gets put in the spotlight and basically dealt with these characters. By the final issue of the book, his friend who became the Griffin, he died. Yes, and we also have debuted in this book of Inerta. Actually, this was Return of the book. Yes, I thought he was debuted. No, this actually, he becomes Inerta because, Flash always has Reverse Flash. the thing with him is this is actually his first appearance he made in comics since issue 6 of the Impulse title, which aired back in 2000. And he's basically brought back here as a villain for him. Well, technically, yeah, he actually returned to issue 217 of Flash as part of the whole Jeff Johns stuff, and he basically is back here. He becomes inerta for the first time. And by issue 6, Griffin basically is killed off. Well, basically disappears in the book. And Jay Garrick officially retires as Flash, and Barbie the sole Flash. Whereas Wally in this book, Wally is not here. Yeah, there's also an alternate version of Jay Garrick appears in this issue, issue 6. But I gotta admit, these opening issues were not bad. Those of you curious though, where is basically, well, Bart's mentor, Max Mercury? Does he technically show up in these issues? Only in flashback. He does not appear in the main issues of the book. Yeah, that's the thing. Only appears in I think he's mentioned, but there's no physical appearance by him. Not really. Don't know the reason for it. It's just that's kind of how it is. He appears like in 2 issues. Like basically he does not make physical appearance in the book. My guess is because he's not needed. That's probably the reason why. But I do not know the actual reason for it. He does appear in Flash Rebirth. Yeah, he does do that. But for the opening story of Flash, The Past Man Alive, Lightning in the Puddle, it's actually a pretty good story. It feels like a Flash story, despite the fact it's not Wally West. It's Bart Allen. And I did hear initially the book was canceled due to low sales. My guess is because Wally was uber popular at this point in time still, and people miss Wally. So I guess DC felt as though, why not? We'll bring him back. Yeah, and we'll talk about what happens to him in the final issue of the book. Don't worry about that. So next we're discussing Just Other Side of America, Volume 2. Basically, it's 10 issues. So, in these 10 issues, by the way, the book is written by Lenz. That is your writer for this book. It lasts for 10 issues. I'll reveal later exactly the reason for it. So, the opening issue cover is basically an obvious homage to... There is Lenz. Yeah, the cover itself is an obvious homage to Fantastic Four #1. So the members you have for this start of the book, you have Hawkman, Hawkgirl, Ted Knight starring before it became old, Dr. Midnight, I think this is the original one, I'm not sure, Jay Garrick, Sandman, Hourman, Wildcat, basically all the original members. And the opening issue is then basically going to like a big parade, being welcomed back. After the events of Zero, they're basically in limbo since like the late 80s, with the exception of Jay. So they're all back. And like they show off all the members here. Don't reveal their real names, including show off Al Pritt, who's here. This of course before 0 Hour. And then of course you have Sandman. Of course this is Monster Attack. And then Sandman has what looks like to be a heart attack. It turns out he has a stroke. Yes, he has a stroke. The Sandman has got a stroke. And then Clark Kent, who was there, covering this whole thing, becomes Superman, helps him out. And looking up basically Wally does survive. Now, this book is noteworthy for introducing one popular character who is still on this very day, and one of the most popular legacy characters of all time, who is not Wally West, Dick Grayson, Tim Drake, Kyle Rayner, Jessie Quick, the daughter of Johnny Quick, and Liberty Lawrence, aka Liberty Bell. Yes, when he meets up later on with the JSA, it turns out him and Liberty Lawrence, despite getting married in the Office of Grunge book in the 80s, at this point, this is set in present day. They got married technically toward the end of the war, and, well, They were together for a long time. But here's the weird thing. Jessie is presumably like in her 20s, I'd say. It's a weird sliding time scale. I'm guessing just quick is about 20-ish because this is basically set in the 90s, present day. So it's implied that she was born in the 70s. So does that mean that Johnny and Liberty basically they had their daughter in the 70s, even though they got married in the 40s? So they married for 30 years, and they had a daughter. It's not really explained here. Of course, Jessica Quick herself became a popular recurring character in the Flash comics, while still associated with the JSA, and briefly for the Justice League America. Yes, at one point prior to the Flash reboot, she was pregnant with the second Hour Man's child because they got married. And she had this thing where she saw back between Justice Quick and Liberty Bell. I'm not sure why. And by the way, you were thinking, does she use the same formula her father does when she uses her speed? She does. So, by the way, and Hawkman and Hawkgirl, they don't do much after the first issue. They basically, their thing is they're written out of the book as they go on archaeological dig. This time we still being young for some reason. Despite, they're hopefully getting in limbo. So, they go archaeological dig, and of course they get trapped, and of course Jay has to go rescue them. Jay Garrick at one point is barely recognized by his own wife. Yes, Joan doesn't recognize him at all because he hasn't aged as much as she has. So the way it's written here is that she sees him as a stranger and she hates him for some reason, and that plot thread is never resolved when the book ends. Yep. And I do like the fact this book basically, the Jason Ramirez runs really well. The book is just so well written. I love the artwork. It's a bit cartoony, but it's fine. And it's shocking this book basically got canceled. Now, the book does end with let's have another meeting in the JSA. But it's a fun book. No bad issues in these 10 issues that basically was published. Now, why did the book end? The editor of this book thought basically a book, his words, a book full of senior citizens wouldn't sell, so he axed the book after 10 issues, despite the fact they were planned to be 12 and also be a crossover with the Justice League America book. Instead, they decided to have some of the crossover stuff happen when Jay Garrick joined Justice League Europe. Yeah. And this was the first book they had. They launched this book less than a year after the success of the previous volume for the book. Volume 1, which was 8 issues, was 10. And you could say, aside from the introduction of Jesse Quick, there's not a lot of really long-lasting effects for this book. Not a lot. The only thing you can basically say here that's a long-lasting thing is the death of basically Johnny and Liberty being basically as mentioned divorced. As for why they divorced, they don't say. They got divorced. They got married. I think it was issue 60 of All Stars. It was basically toward the end of the book they got married. Yeah, I think they married basically the previous one took place in 1950. This is 40 years later. So I would definitely recommend this book, and I would think DC should basically collect this book and trade. I initially thought there was a trade for this one. I could have sworn I saw one, and then the trade just disappeared. I'm not sure what happened to it. Because this particular trade I saw for this book, it collected all 10 issues. And I would think that if DC did collect this book in the trade, they would include the initial 11 12 basically their plan. Maybe someone would write these 2 issues as a 2-part thing to basically conclude the story, because you finish reading this book, it left it open for more issues, but none were published. And it's because with the editor canceled the book, it wasn't low sales. Low sales was not the reason the book ended, because the editor was a complete idiot. And they also kind of say the same thing about Green Lantern Mosaic, which I'll discuss in the future about that. But In the Cage Outside America, Volume 2, Issues 1 through 10, I give it a 9 out of 10. I give it a 10 because I really enjoyed the book, except that when you finish reading all 10 issues, it feels as though not all the plot threads are wrapped up. It feels as though like there was a lot of hanging and just virtually ignored. Now, another question you might be asking is, did this writer ever write anything else for DC aside from this one book? We're about to find out here. Oh, also Johnny Thunder, I almost forgot. He basically, his foster daughter decided to make him rich, intentionally, which is nice. Sandman didn't do much in this book. Not necessarily. His daughter. Now, if you finish reading this book, who got development in this book? I would say Jay did. I'd say Alan got a little bit. In case you're curious, though, it was Rex Tyler, the original one here. Ultra Humanite became a guy. After mentioning he was actually a girl out of the book. Mm-hmm. Yeah, because he used to basically he used to possess the body of an actress. Yes, he would do that. Okay, so aside from this book, Lenz would also be the writer for Starman Volume 1, who would write from 29 until issue 45. He would write one issue of The Flash, issue 29, he wrote the special. He wrote issues 636, 641 of Action Comics. If you're curious what feature, because that was the weekly run, what feature did he write? It was the Phantom Lady one. Yeah, that's what he wrote, which I reviewed. He also wrote a book called The Fly, which is one of those licensed comics from Archie. He also wrote The Web. Oh yeah, he also wrote the previous one, Just Like America. Mm-hmm. Yes, which, if you're curious, there was also this trade called Just Like America Celebrates 75 Years. Anything of his in that book? Yes, the final issue of this book is in that trade. Yep. Yeah, issue 10 is the only one of this entire book that's in trade. And you're like, really? Out of 10 issues, he only collected one? Yeah, I found that kind of weird. I don't really know why. Oh yeah, even Guy Gardner popped up in the book too. Yeah, Guy Gardner popped up here as well. He popped up in issue 9 during his phase when he was the Warrior, which I'm very much looking forward to discussing his book in the future. Mm-hmm. Yeah, definitely. Oh, in case you're curious though, Jesse Chambers becomes Jesse Quick in issue 8. Yeah. But I love the character of Jesse Quick. I know Tivia, he loves the character too, but Tivia, if you're watching this, if here's the thing, you already more about Jesse Quick, read Just Like America Volume 2. You would absolutely love this book. This book is absolutely amazing. Yep, so there is a book to replace this one. Don't worry about that. Basically, I'm going next to discuss, when I come back to doing JSA, it will be, well, JSA. Yes. Pretty much in the way the Jeff Johns books, issues. Yes. Yeah, I'll be discussing that next time. Mm-hmm. Which won't take very long. And then once that's finished up, it'll be JSA Classify. I'm very much looking forward to discussing this book. And then I'll cap up the JSA stuff with JSA All-Stars. Yep. And some might be curious though, Am I planning on reviewing Starman Volume 1? Well, more of the book. Yes. Yes, I am. I am definitely reviewing that. There's no doubt in my mind I'm going to review it. Mm-hmm. Yep. So yeah, that's particularly a particular review. Please be sure to like, comment, subscribe, turn notifications, and join this like button. Also reviewing this basically this volume, I am caught up with Justice America. The name Justice America. The JS book is the last major book discussed for them, and then just 2 spin-off books, and that's it. Yep. So I will see you all tomorrow with hopefully reviews for, well, Fair 20 Years Quest, Ultra 7, and maybe Comic Corner 2. Okay? So next video.